Now we have two participants.
They take a while to come in.
Yeah. I had like 19 during my Star Wars talk yesterday, so that was a few more than I thought would be there.
We're up to 7.
Yeah, but 4 of them are us and the tech.
Damn.
So anytime the panel outnumbers the room, it's kind of shaky.
When we go to the bar.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, might as well fling it open.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the No Pandemic, No Politics Hour. This sort of came about because I had suddenly realized that I hadn't talked of anything else for the last 6 months and was very happy to have the opportunity. Let me start by asking our participants to introduce themselves. Let me start with Danielle AckleyMcPhail. Tell us about yourself.
I am an author, editor, contributor, publisher of eSpec books, all around insane. I have 3 new releases, more tips from the handyman in my literary handyman series, The Fox's Fire, which is fantasy stories, and The Kindly One, my very first horror collection.
Ooh.
Very nice.
Okay. And T.A. Chafin, let's hear about these.
Okay, technically I'm an author, though I haven't had anything published in over a decade, but I did write briefly for the Star Trek comic book. I've been published in Analog. I had a Star Wars book come out years ago. A few other articles here and there, a couple in Starlog. So technically I'm a writer, just nothing recent, though I am working on, of all things, a romance novel right now, which is absolutely not science fiction, but it is based on a trip I took around the South Pacific last year, and 80% of what's in the book is accurate. So it's semi-autobiographical. Semi-retired at the moment, but previously video store manager, bookstore manager, and computer tech for many years.
Okay. And as I said, I'm Don Sakers, science fiction writer. I review books for Analog magazine, and I am a retired librarian.
Oh, I worked at a couple of libraries too. Very good.
All right.
I've been to a few.
So, and of course, I'm tempted to go into what libraries are doing now, but that would involve one of our forbidden topics. So
Yeah.
let's move on. So I have a whole bunch of prompts here, and I'm going to throw them out, and you guys can comment if you'd like. And folks who are in the audience, if you have something that you'd like to answer to one of these prompts, just throw it into the chat, and I'll be glad to mention it. Also, remember that there's the Q&A button down below. You can ask questions that way. If you have a serious question, please do use the Q&A because we're more likely to see it there. Sometimes chat goes crazy and things scroll off very quickly. All right, so let's start. How about let's have a bit of happy news that you can share. Danielle?
I am within 15,000 words of finishing my first ever military science fiction novel.
Oh, very cool.
All right. Excellent. Chafin?
Okay, a little bit of a stretch for me because I haven't gone anywhere. And so I left town yesterday for the first time in 2 months, more than 2 miles away from my home. I mean, I just drove out, drove back. But I'll throw this one in. My nephew, who is my brother's oldest, he's about 32. He just announced he's engaged. So I'll take that as a big deal. Yes, absolutely.
Definitely.
Just hope I'm invited to the wedding. He says he's going to keep it small, so I don't know. I don't mean that jokingly. I hope I am.
And I guess I should share a bit of good news. best thing that's happened lately has been that our little hamster is going along well, and he's learning to run around in the living room when we block off the door and let him out, and he just loves climbing all over everything.
Oh, cool. Have you had him since he was literally a baby, or?
We got him when he was about 4 weeks old.
That's young. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were in contact with. Usually we go through pet stores, but forbidden topic. So we got in touch with a hamster breeder, and she came down and met us in a parking lot, handed over the little baby hamster. And I think one of the neat things about him is that he was raised with his whole litter as, you know, a not for a pet store or anything like that, but by people who actually played with him and got in contact. So he loves people. He has absolutely.
So
what do they call baby hamsters?
Pups.
Okay.
So he's well socialized, which very positive thing.
Yeah. And usually when we get one from the pet store, they do become socialized, but it's like maybe a month.
It's a struggle.
Yeah, but this one, man, as soon as we got him home, he was like, "Pick me up, pick me up."
Why are you not petting me?
By the way, we now officially have 5 attendees, so we are now a panel.
Yay! All right. Okay. How about the Mars lander?
Perseverance. Here. I'm thrilled. I'm waiting for. The problem is I want the results now. I don't want to wait for the next 90 days of analysis before they tell us what they found. But unique landing, two-part landing system, first time it's ever been done that way, and it worked beautifully. I'm thrilled.
And they have the little helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we're going to have to wait for a while on that.
I think that's neat, but I want to know where on Earth they found conditions that mimicked Mars, because they said that they tested it in conditions that it would be in.
Yeah, that is an excellent question.
Well, high altitude Trunda.
Okay.
So it's a thinner atmosphere. It's cold. It's windy. It's dry. So yeah, there are places that NASA knows everywhere in the world that matches anything you might find. Hell, they had places they couldn't do anything about vacuum, but they. You ever heard of a meteor crater in Arizona?
Yeah.
That's where the Apollo 11 astronauts trained for working on the moon's surface, because the crater is almost exactly the same as you're going to find on the surface, because the moon has been pocked by meteors for thousands of years. So they worked there. So yeah, they can find Mars.
Cool.
Yay. All right.
Now I'm picturing that helicopter in the Vomit Comet.
Oh, yes. Wow.
That would be tough. I mean, I've actually flown in the Vomit Comet. And,
wow.
Yeah, so that's where I got my 20 minutes of 0G. And I've got a picture of me somewhere, which I had right here, of me floating upside down, holding to a strap on the floor, with a sign which is right side up to the camera that says "Greetings from 0G." I actually had that published in Analog many years ago.
Cool.
So, but yeah, how do you fly a helicopter in or it's a drone. Let's be honest, it's a drone. Yeah. But how do you fly a drone in 0G? I mean, you send it up, but you can't say force down. You can't reverse the blades to keep you from going into the ceiling.
Oh, and we have a chat comment from Jonathan. Dr. Inge Heyer's presentation yesterday showed the environmental chamber where they did a lot of testing.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I guess they had a big, gigantic room. Well, I guess for the size of the helicopter, it didn't have to be a big, gigantic room. But
they probably took it to partial vacuum to make sure it was efficient enough to actually fly in air that wasn't 14 pounds per square inch.
Mm-hmm.
But probably couldn't do much about the gravity. But if it could fly under 1G under lighter pressure, then it sure as hell could fly on Mars.
Yeah,
we can hope. All right. Here's another one. Morning person or night person? What are you?
I used to be both. Seriously, I used to get like 5 or 6 hours of sleep a night. I was not able to sleep late, and I would, get caught up in my projects and just keep going. I didn't have that decrease in productivity that you often hear, when people are one or the other. So, but that's drastically changed.
Ah,
Uh,
Before I answer that question, I'm reading the chat. And our tech pointed out something that I liked. Said flying a drone in 0G would be like playing asteroids. You have to flip and burn, forcing it the other way. And I like that. I hadn't thought of that. Very cool. Am I a morning or a night person? I am not much of either these days. But originally I was a morning person, and for some reason I have this habit of dating night women.
hmm.
So like they'll have all, excuse me, no, I'm sorry, I'm a night person and they're morning people, and I'll wake up in the morning and they'll have all this energy and I'm like, just let me sleep. And I'm ready for, let's go up, let's party, there's a midnight movie. No, I'm going to bed. So yes, I am definitely a morning person by comparison. How about you, Don?
I'm more of a night person. Since retiring, it's very seldom that I've had to get up at 7 in the morning, and I came to realize how much that really went against my nature. When you don't have to do it anymore. But I always usually say to people, I'm a night person, but I can play a morning person on TV.
Let's hear it for Chafin.
But in the library, we had 2 shifts. Either we would work from 9 to 5 or from 1 to 9 p.m. And everyone always complained about the 1 to 9 p.m. shift, and that was my favorite. So I was the one who would always work the night shift if it was possible. Well, you'll have 3 night shifts that week. Don't worry, that's not a problem.
When I retired a couple of years ago, I noticed that, oh my gosh, I don't have to worry about getting up and go to a job anymore. Mm-hmm. So I found that, I get up when I felt like, and I go to bed when I felt like, and I realized my schedule was all over the road, and it was actually taking a toll on me. So I said, all right, I need to keep a regular schedule, whether it's not my nature or not. So I literally have 2 or 3 alarms that go off around the house when it's time for me to get out of bed.
Yeah.
And like a warning alarm, get ready for bed.
Yeah.
So I have to do that. Otherwise, it's just like, whatever I want. And I don't have external factors driving my schedule now. And
my husband, Thomas, is, he's just not very time bound. And we've noticed that in times when he is free to do what his body tells him to do, he really does fall into the 26-hour day thing where he'll go to bed an hour later every day and wake up an hour later, and then it'll slowly circle around until he hits the spot where he's never sees daylight. I've been intrigued at some of the things I've been reading about looking back at old colonial era records and earlier than that in Europe, of how apparently in some places it was the custom to have 2 periods of sleep during the night. You'd wake up in the middle of the night and stay awake for a couple hours doing stuff or visiting neighbors or whatever, and then go back to sleep and have a second sleep.
Well, if that's how you want to use your 2 hours in the middle of the night, and your spouse is right next to you, that's up to you. But that was frequently that was what was done in order to, say in the northern climes, stay warm at night. You'd get physical for an hour or 2, and then you'd curl up and go back to sleep. And there was something else I was going to mention, that very same thing. I did notice that there was an experiment they did back in the 60s where they cut people off underground. They just said lights on all the time. And they found that people were working sometimes 24, 26, 30 hours straight before going to bed, because they'd wake up when they woke up and go to bed when they were tired. And under those arrangements, our 24-hour day is too short. People tend to want to stay up a little longer and sleep a little longer as a natural rhythm.
Which brings us back to the Mars rover. I was just reading this morning that the team, the Earthbound team that's supervising it, are now going to start on their Martian schedule. Because
Oh, cool.
day on Mars is like 24 and a half hours roughly.
Right.
And so as long as they're working on that, that's the schedule that they'll keep, so that they're, with the rover during daylight.
There's they've been projecting that out for teams for years. When they first landed, I wish I could remember the name of the first lander on Mars. I used to know it. Viking, thank you. They actually started doing it back then. And I think as long as the people can adjust to it, I think that's great. But I've known a number of people at NASA, and they've said the biggest problem is their neighbors don't believe in that.
Yeah.
So they've got like tin foil on their windows. And actually, it dates even further back, because astronauts would have to change their schedule for when they were in space for days or weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And astronauts would try to adjust to being up at 4 in the morning and so forth, or 5 in the morning too. So they would sleep odd hours even before their mission started. I think we have a couple of questions from Sherry.
I was just going to say,
there.
we have a couple of questions from Sherry or Cherry. And
Yep.
The first one should be a fun one. Why are planets spheres? It's so disappointing that they aren't cubes or wobbly blobs.
What makes you think they aren't? What makes you think they aren't? Just because the ones we can see right nearby. And there are plenty of flat earthers who think we live on a disk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say I believe with them, but I'm just pointing it out.
But here we have a question that's a little more serious and of greater import. When drinking tea, does anyone feel guilty if you don't order Earl Grey hot? What's your preferred tea, and how or when do you take it? And I'll go ahead and broaden this in case any of you are coffee drinkers or beverage in general. What's your preferred beverage? How and when do you drink it, and what do you think of Earl Grey tea?
I actually do drink Earl Grey, always hot. Any tea I drink hot. Coffee could be colder or hot, doesn't really matter. But I don't think I've actually met a tea that I don't like, except for chai, and that's because I don't like cloves.
Okay. I've had Earl Grey tea. It's okay. It is not my preferred. I know it's a little strong in the caffeine department for my tea. For my taste. I am a caffeine fan, but I tend to use it medicinally as opposed to habitually. As such, I don't drink coffee. I have never met a coffee I liked, period. And that's and I give it a chance every few years. All right, I'll try to get, no. Oh, why did I try it? My favorite tea, I don't really, actually, I like lemon zest. Lemon zest is a good tea, but it's not, I drink green tea every day under doctor's orders, because it has there is strong science saying that it has medicinal purposes. So I will be drinking a quart of green tea every day for the rest of my life, whether I want to or not. Fortunately, I acquired the taste, so that's not bad.
That's good. Yeah, I've got that gene that makes licorice and associated things taste really awful to me.
Oh,
so,
poor guy.
I must have that too.
No, I don't. I love licorice.
The bergamot in Earl Grey tea is triggers that for me.
Huh.
Okay.
Yeah, but I do drink a lot of tea. I should have a picture of our tea cabinet to show you, because we do have one of our cabinets in the kitchen is just completely filled with tea. And of course, there's what we call the critical mass theory, which is once you get enough of something, people start giving you more of it. And so we are always getting gifts of tea from our friends.
I love that phrase.
Yeah.
Um, Semi-related to the Earl Grey question. Obviously, this is Star Trek inspired. Habitually, just for fun, I decided I would try every drink mentioned in Star Trek down through the years that it was physically possible to try. I mean, I can't find any Rectigino at the local store. That's the problem. So I can't try Rectigino. But whenever like Chief O'Brien says, coffee, Jamaican blend, double strong, double sweet, I tried that one swallow and I was almost sick. So I won't be drinking that. But that's one reason I kind of, Earl Grey, not a bad choice. That's why I'm there. But every time they mention not foods per se, but drinks, I'll give them a try.
We actually searched and searched until we found Dickerson's Tennessee whiskey bottles that were used for the Romulan ale. Sadly, they were all empty.
Oh.
I actually have 4 in 3 different sizes.
Cool.
2 of the large, one slightly smaller, and there's one that's about that tall.
Oh,
That's a souvenir size, and they're sitting in my living room right now.
Neat.
We were visiting a cousin who has a house that's been in the family for a couple generations, and so there's all these things that one or the other aunt or uncle or grandparent or whatever owned, and they're gone now, but their stuff is still there.
Right.
And we were just sitting there, and Thomas suddenly said, "Oh!" and he went over to a shelf and pulled off that little souvenir Romulan ale bottle, and our cousin was like, "Oh, I didn't even know that was there. What is it?" And he told me, "Well, if you want it, take it." So that's how we got ours.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it's who knew Romulan ale had souvenirs bottles at the factory,
Remember your visit to Romulus.
Yes, we'll take a little souvenir bottle with you. And it's got the leather thong and the wooden cap and everything. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Tell me about your favorite new gadget. And new could be new to you.
Well, it would be this little mic that I'm using.
Ooh.
It is a Samsung Go. And I've been doing a lot of author readings, uploading to YouTube, both for myself and other people. And this gives a really nice result. I've had to build like a little sound box for it and everything. I'm figuring out the tricks to get a good quality recording, but this has certainly upped my game, which is kind of ironic because what I had before that was like an actual professional stick mic.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess just age or whatever, the connectors weren't very good anymore. It wouldn't record consistently in stereo, that type of thing. So I upgraded.
Cool.
Okay. My new gadget is in the mail. I literally ordered parts of it over the last 48 hours, and that is try to keep this short. In May, a friend of mine and I are going to Georgia because we're going to get flights on a Huey military helicopter.
Cool.
And she's going to get a private flight on a Cobra combat helicopter.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is a birthday thing for her. So I thought, there must be some way we can memorialize this or to retain this, because you can't sit there flying with a camera like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, okay, fine. I ordered GoPro, and I ordered a head mount and a chest mount. So either she or I are going to wear those during the flight. So don't have it yet, but really looking forward to it.
Swap them on and off. That way you both get FaceTime.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will probably this is for her. Unofficially, I've flown in military aircraft before. I'm a veteran. So this is for her. So I want to commemorate the flights for her. So I will probably wear the camera for the Huey because she'll be in frame.
Mm-hmm.
But she'll wear the camera when she's on the Cobra because I think she's in the back seat. So at least record her and show what she sees. So it's a great idea, Danielle, but no, can't. I don't care about me. I care about her. By the way, our tech threw a comment in there. It said with 3 attendees, if we want to turn it into more of a discussion circle, we could drag our audience onto the stage as participatory panelists. Just want to know what you guys think of it. Or would you want to keep it this way so we've got a little more control over the subject matter? Just a thought.
Don's moderator.
Yeah, I would hate to drag someone on screen who didn't want to.
Okay.
You know, that's
I see
think,
your point.
I think that's a great idea, but I think it should be announced beforehand. You know.
Okay.
But
one of them just responded, "No thanks, I'm in pajamas."
yeah.
Aren't we all?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
You just see me in my turtleneck. Don't ask about the rest.
Yeah.
So, all right, I do see your point, Don. That's a good point.
Okay, status quo.
Status quo. Yeah.
For now, but I do think that's a great idea for something like this in the future.
Mm-hmm. Hey, pull a surprise panel. Say we're randomly going to allow one person from the audience into the panel. Who will it be? Just a thought.
That reminds me of a panel I was on at a Worldcon. It was, I think the title of the panel was "We versus They," and the topic was, just why are we always talking in terms of opposing forces? You know, why don't cooperation like that? And the panel room was changed at the last minute, and the panelists found out about that, but apparently the audience didn't. And so, of course, we got to the room, 5 people waiting for the panel to start and no audience, and it got to be like 10 minutes after the hour, and the other authors said, "Okay, well, we're going away. Goodbye." And they left, and I was a little slow packing up things, and my husband and I walked out, and there's this huge crowd of people coming toward us in the hall. And they said they had been in the other room, but someone just came in and said to them, "Oh, that panel was moved." So they came down. Well, I was the only panelist left. So I said, "All right, this is a topic where you don't need any necessary knowledge or anything. So who wants to be on the panel?" And we got like 4 other audience members to come up. It was the greatest panel I've ever been on. Fantastic discussion.
There was one that actually convention I went to in the Deep South about 10 years ago actually had a political panel. And if you were, as they put it, if you're red, you sit on one side of the room. If you were blue, you sat on the other, and they would start discussion. And so I came in and I sat in the aisle. And they said, "Are you red or blue?" And I said, I've been a moderate Republican all my life, but I'm so moderate, you really can't tell. So I'm right where I need to be. And they didn't like that, but okay.
Okay, now we're straying a little bit into forbidden topics here. So.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, my apologies.
That's okay. That's okay.
I was thinking convention. Sorry.
Yeah, I know what you mean. All right. While we're on gadgets, who has had an experience recently of the thing that you thought was utterly stupid? Why would anyone ever get that until you got it, and now you can't live without it? Do you have any experiences like that?
Wow.
While you're thinking, I can share mine.
Please.
Mine was an electric kettle.
Oh yeah.
I had always thought, what's the big deal with an electric kettle? You put the kettle on the stove, you turn it on, you heat the water. And then we got one at work. And I learned that being able to make a kettle full of tea unsupervised or in 10 minutes was fantastic, because you could go down and hit the button and have it go on, and then walk away and get something done, then come back and the water would be hot.
And they're so quick.
Yes, they are.
They're so quick.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, then we got one for home, and it's wonderful. It's glass, so you can see it bubbling, and it has little LEDs at the bottom, so the water's bubbling and it's all blue. It's really
I have a cats that like live water.
Mhm.
and one of them actually used to drink out of a water bottle, like a hamster would have.
Mm.
And then we went and we got a fountain, and she totally ignores the water bottle now and just drinks out of the fountain.
The fountain. That's cool.
Um, over 20 years ago,
Mhm.
my parents gave me a crock pot, and I thought, I'm never gonna need a crock pot.
Mhm.
And for 10 years, I kept it. I was saying, should I sell it? Go for much. They're not that expensive. I wouldn't get a lot for it. So I just kept it. The whole time I won't say in Louisiana, but there was a time when I had some storage in Baltimore, and I left it in storage for like 7 years. And about 15 years ago, no, I had to have gotten it 30 years ago instead. Somebody said, oh yeah, there's an easy way to make this, and I forget recipe. They said, just throw it in a crock pot and fill it with water and then turn on it. All right, so I pulled it out, put everything in before I went to work, turned it on, went to work, came home, and the house was filled with this beautiful aroma.
Mhm.
I thought, oh my God, dinner was waiting for me.
Yes.
I grew up on a crock pot,
So,
and I have had one ever since. I've probably had about 4 or 5 different ones
mhm.
over my marriage. And like right now I have pot roast soup downstairs filling the air with that aroma. It's fantastic.
The one thing I want to know is, I took home ec in high school. Out of a class of 25, there were 3 guys. I was one of them. I took it for the girls. Why else do guys take home ec classes? But I learned to sew. I learned to make preserves, cakes, cookies, pies, roast beef. I learned all the things that are essential for modern living. It should be a required class for both genders, I think.
Mhm.
But they didn't cover crock pots. Otherwise, I'd have been using one all my life.
Mhm.
I wish they had.
I have to agree. I think that home ec should be required for everybody.
Yeah.
My only experience with that was in high school. The biology lab was across the hall from the home ec rooms, and our biology teacher had ordered chicken eggs, that fertilized chicken eggs, and we were going to do the whole watch them develop, break one open every day and put it in
Right.
the microscope, all that kind of stuff, except that he forgot to plug in the
Whoops.
warmth over the weekend. And so we
Ah,
came back on Monday morning, and so all of the biology students trooped into the home ec room with the home ec students, and they taught us how to make eggs in all kinds of different ways, and it was fantastic. It was great. But the worst thing was they didn't really have enough like containers to do this all at once with everybody, so we brought over lab jars and stuff like that.
That works.
So I was learning to beat eggs in a
in a beaker.
in a beaker. Yeah.
Yeah. Why not? They work perfectly well.
Yes. Oh yeah. And it was delicious, and everybody got to try eggs of all different styles.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect food. Add it
Yeah,
to
and, like,
almost
all of us are
anything and
saying,
improves it.
Wow, why can't we take home ec? That's
Yeah. Yeah.
of course it probably wasn't that fun every day. Okay. Let's see.
Comment from Sherry. Oh God, I love my crock pot.
Yeah. We a couple of years ago we got an Instant Pot when they were deeply on sale at Amazon, and that was another thing where I didn't think we'd use it at all, and we use that all the time too. Okay. How about, can you guys share a story, funny, horrifying, whatever, of either a past Farpoint or some other con that you've been to? Just a con
I have my most favorite story ever.
Mhm.
I went to the 2005 World Horror Convention in New York City, because we did our first anthology ever, the one that started this whole roller coaster that I've been on. And Harlan Ellison was one of the guests, and the hotel was absolutely atrocious. Just about all of the big events were down in the basement, and there was like one elevator that went down,
Oh, wow.
and everybody waited for the elevator. It was like one flight down.
Yeah.
So everybody's clustered around the elevator, and I come through and I'm like, excuse me. And Harlan at the top of his voice goes, we're all going to the same place. And I said, fine, I'll race you down the stairs. And he goes, where are you from? And I said, and don't ask me why, because I'm not. I said, Brooklyn. Now give me a hug. We hugged. I went down the stairs, and then eventually everybody joined me.
Yeah. Oh, come on. We're fans. We're supposed to be smart. They didn't even think about the stairs.
I think that nobody had ever stood up to him like that, because just the look on his face.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised.
I can imagine. It's Harlan. Don, you want to tell yours? You want me to go with mine?
You go ahead.
Okay. There was I lived in Denver, Colorado for about 3 years. Why is not important. But they had a convention out there called StarCon. And I attended the convention. And you had to pay for autographs. Okay. But even if you paid, they didn't guarantee you an autograph. The star may say, I'm done, or we're out of time, but they wouldn't refund money. All right. You couldn't join the costume competition unless you signed a release that said you allowed them to videotape it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, by the way, you couldn't take pictures of the costumes during, before, or after. You couldn't make video of the costumes before, during, or after, even if it's your own costume.
Ooh.
You still had to sign the photo and video release. And then right next to the releases was a form where you could order pictures of the costumes or order a video of the costume competition. And they were the most money grubbing convention I had ever seen. And this was after I had attended a few shore leaves, and I think it was ClipperCons back then.
Yeah.
And I made a bit of a stink. And at one point I was politely asked to leave, told I was invited never to come back again.
Yeah.
And that I am the sort of fan who gives conventions a bad name.
Just bad conventions.
Yeah. They were money grubbing. They were. And I won't tell you who the company was that ran them, but they did have tables at Shore Leave for a number of years. Same people. And then just before they stopped running conventions, I got invited to one of their conventions on Star Wars. And I wrote them a very polite letter explaining my experience with their convention and said, I will not attend your convention because you're the kind of convention that gives conventions a bad name. Tech, I think we're hearing audio from you. Tech?
I don't know, not on my end.
I'm hearing clear music tones and audio from somebody with a mic out there.
No, not me.
No. Not me.
It might be my husband's TV.
Oh, okay. But anyway, so that's my horror story for a
Horror
convention.
story. All right. Well, one of my favorite con stories was there was a little old con in Blacksburg, Virginia called Technicon.
I've been there.
It was a fun convention. It was just amateur in the very literal meaning of it. You know, it was put on by people who loved what they were doing. And we really loved it. And to get there, we had to drive down through the Shenandoah Valley in Virginia, and it's beautiful country, fantastic drive and all that. But so along the way, and there were about 4 or 5 of us in the van driving to go to this con, and we started talking about the cows that we could see in the fields, and it went from there to caves, because that area has a lot of caverns.
Oh yeah,
One of the
Lorraine
things
is
we
down
love to do
there.
is go through caverns, you know. So,
Yeah.
But and what with one thing or another, we got to talking about the mutant blind albino cave cows, who were descended from the cows that had stumbled down into the caverns long ago, and of course they were blind because they didn't need their eyes in the dark, and they were albino because they lost all their coloring and whatnot, and you know, we were talking about the life cycle of the mutant blind albino cave cows, and the biggest problem of when, you know, we don't know a lot about them, because of course as soon as you bring them to the surface they explode because of the difference in pressure. And so we arrived at the con on Friday evening, a whole van load of people laughing hysterically and talking about the mutant blind albino cave cows, and we went to the parties, and Technicon was largely a college crowd, so they were heavy drinkers, and the mutant blind albino cave cow story gets better and better the more you drink. And it got to the point where there was like a room full of 20 or 30 people who were silent for maybe 10 minutes, except for the gasps as they tried to breathe through their laughter. That was a lot of fun, and I can't think of any bunch of people in the world who would get that except for fans.
I agree with you. As a matter of fact, it's held at Virginia Tech, or Virginia Polytechnic Institute. My brother and sister-in-law graduated from there.
Really?
They had the intelligence to turn me down, not because of my scores or my GPA, but because I was, in the 10 years between I graduated from high school and wanted to go to tech, they changed their requirements by one Spanish class. Yeah, so they turned me down. But about 9 years ago, they held their very last Technicon. And I was the costume guest.
Okay.
So because they couldn't, I don't know why, it was only about 50 people, not very big anymore. It kind of lost its momentum. But I won a few awards. I'm technically a master's at the Worldcon level. So yeah, they said, sure, you want to come down? We can't pay anything, but we can put you up for that. I said, okay. So yeah, it's really too bad, because it used to be much bigger and much better attended, and just had a lot. It was just, as you said, in the amateur in the best sense of the word. So I miss it. But good memories there.
We have a question here, which is kind of interesting. What is the most random thing you found yourself watching on TV or Netflix this past year? Talking about something that you're still shocked that you watched it, aside from porn or forbidden topics. A
British variety show, I guess you could kind of call it, called Taskmaster.
Okay.
There's like 9 seasons. It was started by a comedian named Alex Horn, and the host is Greg Davies. And they get a bunch of comedians and they give them these outrageous tasks. And it's just hilarious, because a lot of times they'll have like a trick, like they'll have the task written on an envelope and there'll be another part of it on the back side, or, you know, totally insane.
Neat.
But that was a lot of fun.
And that's Taskmaster.
You can find it on YouTube.
Wow. Okay, first, I don't have television. I cut the cable for cable about 4 years ago. I do stream. In fact, when you stream, if you know how to do it, you can capture what you're streaming. And I have about 400 TV series on my file server in the basement. But I'm torn between two. The two most random that are so out of character for me is a British series called Harlots.
I've heard of that.
Excuse me. Unlike radio, I don't have a cough button. Anyway, it's exactly what you think it is. It's about brothels competing and let's be honest, whorehouses back in the 18th century or early 19th in England. The other thing is, this is how desperate I am sometimes, new sitcom called The Crew. And it's a sitcom about a car racing team.
Okay.
It's because I'm running out of science fiction. I have seen so much science fiction over my life. I mean, bless you.
Thank you.
Have you ever heard of Quatermaster? That's it.
Quatermass, yes.
Yeah.
No.
Ever see? Oh, it's a very, very early British science fiction series. And if you ever watch it, it was said that you could see elements that were dragged into almost every other science fiction series since then.
Mhm.
I actually have like 3-4 episodes that I was able to acquire, and I see it. I really do. I mean, it's from the early 50s, and it's actually fairly brilliant.
Yeah,
So,
I remember reading that when Doctor Who started to get popular, that's what people were comparing it to.
mhm,
They
mhm.
were saying it was like the Quatermass thing. It's funny, you both mentioned British shows, and I just remember seeing something that was a complete throwaway. I don't even remember where it was, but the person was saying, oh yeah, I've been watching a lot of British TV. In fact, I watched this one show, and they had 17 episodes, and I watched all of them. It's the longest running show in British history.
Excuse me?
Well, their seasons are usually like half a dozen episodes.
Oh, I
Yeah.
know, but
No,
they're-
I know it was a joke. It was
oh, okay.
yeah, not,
Yeah,
not
okay.
serious. Okay. Let's see. What superpower would you most like to have? Ooh.
I have to pick just one.
Oh, I already know what I want mine to be.
Well,
it's that simple.
Okay, I'll let you have more than one, but let's do it like Ultra Boy and the Legion. You can only use one at a time.
Mine's simple. I want to be able to read other people's minds.
Ah,
It's that simple.
okay.
I don't mean control them. I don't
Yeah.
mean the thoughts overpowering me. I wonder what this person's thinking. Read. Oh, okay. That's it. That's small. I mean, that's it. Imagine what you could do in a debate or in a poker game, or just I'm on a date. What does she really want me to say? Just light, simple, small things like that can be so powerful if used properly. Can you use it properly? That's the next one.
But yeah, and can you turn it off?
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying I don't want to be overpowered by the thoughts. I want it to be like a faucet, turn on, turn off, that kind of thing. So
yeah, that is kind of scary.
it is. I mean, okay, you're super strong. Yeah. You can move big things. Fine. I don't know. I'd rather know what my enemy's thinking. Thank you very much.
And Hobbit comments, I'm thinking you'd be routinely disappointed in what people are not thinking.
Yeah, I'm sure you're thinking it's like it'd be like the symptoms. What's Homer thinking? Oh, those golden grams. Oh, those golden grams. So, but that's mine. I want to know what people are thinking.
Danny, superpowers?
I can't actually think of one.
I do have an anecdote to throw in a minute.
Throw it.
Okay, Peter David in his column that he put in the I can't think what it's called, comic. Well, and he had a column years ago. I don't know if he still has it. I haven't read it in years. But a bunch of us were visiting him for New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and we put together a column with him, and it was the top 10 most useless superpowers.
Oh.
And one of them we came up with was the ability to psychically know yesterday's winning lottery numbers. And the ability to know whenever Roseanne Barr is within 100 miles.
Mm-hmm.
Just the most totally useless superpowers.
And Thomas comments, why is invisibility more often a villain power than a hero power?
Because the people who have it abuse it and use it for nefarious purposes.
Mm-hmm.
If you used it for good purposes, I'm good with that.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Hope that answers your question, Tom.
Okay. How about we've got just a few more minutes left. Okay. Very, very few. So let me ask you guys. Talk about something.
I'm sorry. Don, you didn't tell us what your superpower would be.
Oh, my superpower. I think I would like the one where I could like split into 3 or 4 bodies. Because
Okay.
think of all you could get done.
True. I don't know if I have room for 3 or 4 of me sitting on the couch reading a book.
Where were we? Yeah. Tell me about a project that you're working on now. A work in progress.
Well, like I mentioned, I am writing Dare's Devils. It is a novel that I started, has to be 12 years ago. Sat on the shelf for 8 years for various reasons. And those that have read the Defending the Future series, a lot of my stories in there are the seed for this novel.
Okay.
And it's very challenging because I'm keeping the meat of those stories, but I have to blend it into a novel structure. And I've reached the point where all of the content that I currently have written has been woven together, and I have to go through and create an outline so that I can see where I still have to add in the details that are missing. So I'm
Nice.
deciding whether or not I'm going to shop it around or if it's going to be the next eSpec property. I don't know.
Cool.
Okay.
Mr. Chafin.
All right. When you say currently working on, in my case, you need to put that in quotes.
That's fine.
As I have said for years, I'm not a writer. I'm somebody who simply writes something occasionally. I do not see, and I have tried for months at a time to sit down and write something on a current project every day, a paragraph or a page or whatever. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know where to go with this. And I've got to let it percolate more and more and more to the point that there's a story I've had in progress for 4 years. And now and then I'll come back and I'll work on it frantically for 3 weeks. And then I hit another, not stopping point, but just like I run out. I mentioned the romance novel that I'm working on. And I do manage to accomplish something on that. It's mostly being written in a linear fashion, but I have certain scenes I've also stepped in and run in, and now it's tying things together. There is another book, which is about basically a movie location guide for locations I've actually visited, and tell you there are movie location books out there that say, oh yes, this was filmed in Augusta, Georgia. And there'll be like a picture of a building, but don't tell you where the heck the building is. So I'm literally going to these places and getting GPS coordinates, telling you within 10 feet where to go.
Wow.
And I have a book in progress on that. And I'm working on the elevator pitch and the 1-page pitch and all that stuff. So again, these are both in progress. They're just not progressing very rapidly.
Yeah. I find that often the projects have their own time frame. And
Yeah, definitely.
I remember Fred Paul saying that when you're writing a book, most of the work is not the actual writing, because if you were a half decent typist, you could finish a book-length manuscript in something like 2 weeks. So obviously something else is going on, and what that is happening in your mind, and it requires being away from the word processor for quite a while, and letting things percolate.
8 years.
Yeah, well, I have things that are longer ago than that I'm still, sometimes I'll have an idea and realize that I'm just not ready to do it yet, or don't know the right way to do it.
Well,
definitely been there.
A stage play that Prometheus did that I wrote called "The Future is Built on Broken Hearts." It was 30 minutes of stage time. Took me 10 years to write.
Yeah.
So how about you, Don?
Well, I am continuing to piddle away at another project that I've been working on for years, and it's just, but this is a near future novel, and it's the basic premise is that we run into a stream of asteroids that actually exists. It's the stream that the Tunguska event meteor came from.
Ah, okay.
And it's a broken up comet from 10,000 years ago, and we get pelted with the minor debris, but basically Earth passes through the edge of this stream twice a year. And we, in the book, I'm assuming that it moves. And so we start getting pelted every year with Tunguska level events.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I throw in Atlantis. And so that's been
Okay.
It's been a lot of fun. It's been kind of interesting, and I now know way too much about crazy theories of Atlantis than I ever wanted to know.
That's I have about a dozen books on the subject myself. For me, the paranormal from one end to the other has been a hobby. So that's wonderful. I know about Mu. I know about Atlantis. I know the hollow earth theory and all that. But I'm also Bigfoot and Loch Ness and so on. But anyway, intriguing idea though.
Yeah, Sherry said, "Oh my God, I just realized you have the ugly Marriott floor rug in the background."
Actually, Sherry, I was going to mention, I'm really impressed that Don went all the way to the Marriott to film from location in the hallway. I'm very impressed by that.
Okay. Oh, and Danny just posted about eSpec Books having a special for Farpoint, so take a look at that in the chat. Very important. We're almost out of time, so anybody want to throw in a pitch, or where can we find you on social media or anything like that?
I'm easy to find anywhere. There's only one of me. Danielle AckleyMcPhail, just type it in. If I'm there, you'll find me.
Truthfully, I'm not very big on social media these days. I don't Twitter. I don't. There are others I can think of. I am on Facebook under Alan Chafin. That's ALAN Chafin. But I haven't posted anything in a month. Maybe I'll check it a couple of times a week to see what my friends are posting. I usually post when I travel, if for no other reason, to let people know where I am in case I disappear, because I usually travel alone. If I'm gone for 3 weeks, I want people to know where the heck I am, so that at least they can look at Facebook and say, "Oh, he was in Sydney, Australia last week. Okay, good." And then if you don't hear from me again, they've got a place to start. But yeah, look for me on Facebook, but only when the weather gets better.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm at
the website up there.
Yeah, the website up there. Except not right at the moment, because my web host is having some real problems, and they're not in Texas, so I don't know what's going on. But yeah, wait till tomorrow or so, and then check it. We should be back up.
I forgot to mention eSpec has something new.
Oh, yeah.
We started a new imprint in conjunction with Cryptid Crate. So anyone that's interested in cryptids or cryptozoology, we started Systema Paradoxa series, which is novellas based on various cryptids. And some of them are being featured in exclusive Cryptid Crates, which is Cryptid Crate is a subscription box, a monthly subscription box. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So I hope everyone enjoyed this hour when we were not talking about the things that we've been talking about for the last year. And I hope you're enjoying Farpoint. Please do remember that the con is accepting donations. There are costs involved in this kind of thing, and cons are hurting this year, so because of forbidden topics. But if we want things to pick up again, we do need to do some support, and give $5 or something. It's a little bits can help. Okay, and I think that's about it.
All right, Don, nice job, by the way. Danielle, good to hear what you're doing.
Thank you. This was fun, and thank you, audience. That was great.
This was fun. Thanks, everybody. Miss you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. I'm wondering if our tech is going to turn this off or if we just step out.
I'm not sure. Oh,
There we go.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. This
Thanks,
was fun.
Hobbit. Bye-bye.
Thank you. I will get you those books done. It may be a couple weeks because I work 6 days in a row.
Danny, if you want to send me ebooks instead,
Oh,
I'm glad to have them.
okay.
You don't
I
wanna
didn't
spend-
know that before. You always wanted print books. So I can definitely send you the ebooks.
We usually do print books because I'm usually right there and you hand them to me. So
Yeah. Which email do you want me to use?
it's donsakers@gmail.com.
Okay. I'll do that then. I can get them to you right away.
Great, that's fantastic. Yeah, because
Your audience
I'm
is
not gonna
completely
see you in
gone, so we can
person.
stop this.
if I'm not going to see you in person, at least I can do that.
Say hi, Mike.
Hi.
Hi, Mike. Been following your adventures on Facebook. I'm
Same here, sir.
hoping things are going okay.
They are
All right.
much better now.
Good.
Well, awesome. I will go send them to you right away. You have
well,
a good
thank you
day.
very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.